The room was silent except for the sound of machines. A dim blue light filled the alien hospital, cold and empty. On the bed lay a woman, her skin pale, and her breathing weak. Her alien heart was failing, and everyone in the room knew it. Doctors whispered among themselves, their voices heavy with doubt. "She cannot be saved," one said, his eyes filled with sadness. Another shook his head. "Her body is too weak, the damage is too deep." Around her, the staff prepared quietly, not for healing, but for death. The alien woman's eyes flickered open for a moment. She saw blurry faces above her, faces that carried no hope. Her people had already given up on her. She was beyond saving, and she knew it. Her lips moved weakly, but no one cared to listen. In their hearts, she was already gone. She thought of her life, of all the pain and loneliness she had carried. Her world had been cruel, her family long lost, her future stolen. Now even her body betrayed her. She closed her eyes again, ready for the dark. But in that silence, another voice spoke, firm and different. "I will not let her die." The words cut through the hopeless air like fire. Every head turned toward the speaker. A human stood there, tall and tired, but with eyes burning with determination. The doctors frowned. "It is impossible. Her blood is alien, her body will reject anything foreign." The human shook his head. "Not impossible." He stepped closer, his voice steady. "Take my kidney, give it to her." Shock spread across the room. "Your organ? From a human?" "This is madness," the doctors argued. "No one has ever tried such a thing." But the human did not back away. "She will live," he said firmly. "You will make it work." The alien woman, half conscious, heard the voice. Through the haze, her weak eyes turned slowly toward the figure. She had never seen him before. Why would a stranger fight for her life? Why would anyone care if she lived or died? Her heart trembled, not with strength but with confusion. This was no dream. The voice was real. He was real. And he was choosing her, choosing to risk his life for hers. The doctors tried to reason. "If you do this, you may not survive." The human only smiled faintly. "Life is not measured by how long you live, but by what you give." His words silenced the room. Preparations began quickly. Machines hummed louder. Sharp tools glistened under the blue light. The alien woman felt cold hands on her skin as the doctors moved her body. She wanted to speak, to tell him not to risk everything, but her voice was lost, her strength gone. As the human lay down on the second table, he closed his eyes briefly. In his mind, he thought of his home, of battles he had fought, of friends he had lost. He thought of how fragile life was, and how sometimes one act could change everything. He whispered softly, "Hold on," though she could not hear. The surgery began. The sound of tools, the sharp beeping of machines, the tension in the air grew heavier. The doctors worked quickly, their hands moving with fear and hope. The human's blood pressure began to drop. One doctor shouted, "He is losing too much." Another replied, "We must finish, there is no turning back." The alien woman floated in and out of darkness. In her mind, she saw fragments of memory, her mother's face, her childhood home, the emptiness of her life. Then she saw the human's face, strong and determined. His words echoed in her fading thoughts. "You will live." Her heart skipped, then slowed. The machines screamed louder. The doctors rushed, sweat shining on their foreheads. The human's body trembled on the other table, pale and weak. Still he did not move. Still he gave. Time passed like a storm. Minutes felt like hours, each second heavy with danger. No one in the room spoke anymore. Only the machines spoke. Life and death fought in silence. Finally, the doctors leaned back, their hands trembling. The new organ was in place, the connection made, but there was no relief yet. No one breathed. The woman's heart was still slow. The human's body was failing. The alien doctor whispered, "If she does not wake now, both are lost." The machines beeped weaker, fainter. The human lay motionless, his life slipping away. The alien woman's eyes remained closed, her chest barely rising. The room was filled with fear and silence. Would she wake, or would this sacrifice end in two deaths? The answer had not yet come. And as the blue light flickered above, every soul in the room held their breath. The room was heavy with silence. Only the sound of machines filled the air, beeping faint and uneven. The alien woman lay still, her chest rising weakly, her eyes closed. On the other bed, the human's face had turned pale, his breath shallow. Doctors moved quickly between the two. Sweat covered their faces, their hands trembling as they adjusted tubes and wires. One whispered, "Her body is trying to accept the organ, but it may fail." Another said sharply, "The human's pressure is dropping, he is losing too much." It was a race against time. One life barely clinging, the other slipping away faster. Every second felt like a knife cutting the air. No one dared to speak of failure, but the thought haunted them all. Inside her drifting mind, the alien woman floated in darkness. She saw nothing, only shadows, only silence, yet in that silence, she heard a voice. A voice warm and strong. "You will live, do not let go." Her heart stirred faintly. It was the human's voice, echoing through her broken soul. Why would he say such words? Why would he give everything for her? She felt his presence in the dark, as if he was guiding her back. On the other table, the human's body shook weakly. His skin grew colder, his pulse slowing. One doctor shouted, "We are losing him." Another replied, "If he goes now, her body will also reject the organ, both will die." The room turned into chaos. Machines screamed louder. Doctors rushed to save two lives at once. They pushed medicines, adjusted blood flow, called for more, support still. The line on the screen wavered, threatening to fall flat. The alien woman's mind slipped deeper into the dark. She saw images, memories flashing before her. Her family standing on a bright hill long ago. Her laughter as a child, her mother's hand holding hers. Then the pain, the loss, the years of loneliness that followed. She whispered inside her mind, "Why fight to stay? What is left for me?" The voice returned, firmer this time. "Because you are worth saving." She turned in her dream and saw him, the human, not weak, not dying, but standing tall like a light, his eyes fierce, his hand stretched toward her. "Come back," he said. "Do not waste this chance." Her heart jolted, a faint spark ran through her veins. Her body twitched slightly on the bed. One doctor noticed, her heartbeat. "It's climbing." Hope rushed through the room, but fear remained. The human, however, was fading faster. His blood pressure fell to dangerous levels. The screen by his side let out a long warning tone. The doctors rushed, pushing energy into his chest. One shouted, "Stay with us, human, stay." His body jerked from the shock, but his eyes did not open. The alien woman's hand moved faintly. Her fingers curled as if searching for something. In her dream, she reached toward him. Her lips whispered softly, though no one heard, "Please, live." Minutes stretched like hours. The human's body grew weaker. The doctor's hope thinned, their eyes desperate. One muttered, "Why did he do this? Why for her?" Another whispered, "Because no one else would." In the dark dream world, the alien woman ran toward the light. The human stood waiting, smiling despite his pain. "You are alive because I chose it," he said. Her voice shook. "But you may die." He nodded. "Life is not about how much you keep. It is about what you give." Her heart broke at those words. Tears slipped from her closed eyes, rolling down her cheeks. The doctors gasped. "She is crying. She hears something." Her pulse grew stronger, her body fighting to live, but the human's body collapsed further. His chest rose shallow, his lips pale. The doctors pressed harder, forcing life back into him. They begged, shouted, pushed, but the line on the screen fell closer to flat. The alien woman's dream turned into a storm. She saw him falling into darkness, slipping away. She screamed in her soul, "No, do not leave me." Her hand shot out in the real world, grabbing. The edge of his bed, her weak voice escaped her lips. Stay. Stay with me. The doctors froze, staring at her sudden strength. Her eyes opened wide for a moment, glowing with tears. She turned her head slowly to look at him, the human who had given everything. Her voice cracked, but she whispered again, "Live." Something shifted in the air. The human's chest rose sharply as if pulled back by her words. The screen beeped once, twice, then steadied into a fragile rhythm. The doctors gasped, stunned. He is stabilizing," one whispered. "And she is holding on too," another said in disbelief. No one could explain it, but in that moment, between life and death, something unseen had bound them together. Her tears, his sacrifice, their will. To live had created a thread stronger than medicine. The alien woman's breathing steadied, her body accepting the gift. The human's heart beat again, fragile but alive. The room filled not with silence but with awe. 2 lives saved, yet tied in a way none could understand. The doctors stepped back, whispering among themselves. This should not have worked. It was impossible. Yet the impossible had just happened before their eyes. The alien woman closed her eyes once more, but now with peace, her hand still reaching toward him. The human remained unconscious, but his body slowly recovering. They had both crossed the edge of death and returned, but the story was far from over. It had only begun. A soft hum filled the hospital chamber. Machines blinked with steady lights, a faint rhythm echoing in the room. 2 bodies lay side by side, one alien, one human, both fragile, both scarred. But against all odds, both were alive. The alien woman stirred first, her eyes fluttered, heavy as stone, vision blurred by haze. At first she thought she was still in the dark dream, lost between life and death. But then she felt the cold touch of sheets, the smell of medicine, the faint sting of wires against her skin. She blinked slowly, the world returning piece by piece. Above her lights glowed dim and distant. Around her quiet footsteps moved cautiously. Voices whispered, though she could not catch their words. Her chest rose weak but steady. Her body felt different, not broken anymore, not collapsing into silence. There was strength inside her veins, borrowed strength, a gift she did not deserve. She turned her head slowly, each movement heavy, and then she saw him. The human, pale and still, lay on the bed beside hers. Tubes ran across his chest, his hand limp at his side, his face peaceful yet drained. Her heart clenched as she realized the truth. He had not only saved her, he had given a piece of himself, and now he lay at the edge of his own death. Tears formed in her eyes, rolling silently onto the pillow. She whispered weakly, her voice barely sound, Why would you do this?" No one answered. Only the machine spoke. Steady beeps reminding her he was still alive but fragile. Memories of the surgery returned in fragments. The doctor's shouting, his voice in her dream, the light he offered her when she was lost. She remembered the words, "You will live," and she had because of him. She reached out with trembling fingers. Her hand touched his, cold and unmoving. The weight of his sacrifice pressed on her heart, heavier than any wound. For the first time in years, she felt something she had long forgotten, the ache of being cared for. Hours passed as she lay. Watching him, doctors came and went, checking numbers, writing notes, adjusting tubes. Some looked at her with surprise, whispering that she was stronger than expected, but all she saw was him, the human who lay silent beside her. At one point, his body trembled, his heartbeat slowed, the machine alarm screamed, doctors rushed, pushing medicine, pressing against his chest. She cried out, her weak voice breaking. The silence. "No. Do not take him. Please." Her plea echoed, raw and desperate, shaking even the cold doctors. Minutes stretched like eternity until the rhythm returned. The machine steadied, his chest rose again. Relief flooded her. Though her body shook with weakness, her tears did not stop. "Stay. Please stay." When the room emptied again, she leaned closer, her lips near his ear. She whispered with trembling voice, "I did not ask for your gift, but I will not waste it. I will live because you chose me, and I swear, I will not let you die alone." The days blurred into one another. Her body healed faster than anyone expected. The human kidney had taken root, her system adapting as if destiny itself demanded it. Doctors called it a miracle, something beyond science. But she knew it was not only science, it was will. His will. Each day she grew stronger. Each day he remained still, his life hanging by fragile threads. She spoke to him daily, even if he did not answer. She told him stories of her childhood, of her world's beauty and pain. She confessed how she had stopped believing in kindness long ago, and how his sacrifice had broken the walls she built around her heart. One evening, as shadows filled the room, she held his hand again. Her voice, cracked with emotion. "Why human? Why would you give for me, a stranger?" Her tears fell on his skin, warm against his cold hand, and then for the first time his fingers moved. She gasped, eyes wide, gripping his hand tighter. The machines showed a slight rise, his breath deepened faintly. Her voice shook as she whispered, "Please, open your eyes." The human stirred, his eyelids twitching. Slowly, painfully, his eyes opened, weak but alive. He turned his gaze toward her, confusion mixed with relief. His lips moved, barely forming words. "You are alive," he whispered. Voice cracked but steady. Her heart broke again, this time with gratitude. Tears poured freely as she nodded, her hand holding his tightly. "Yes, I am alive. Because of you." A faint smile crossed his pale face. "That's enough," he whispered, before his eyes closed again, exhausted, but alive. Her chest tightened at his words. Enough for him that she lived. Enough for him to risk everything. She leaned closer, pressing her forehead against his hand, her voice steady though her tears did not stop. "You gave me life with your body, but I will give you my heart. Always." The doctors watched quietly from the doorway. Some shook their heads, unable to understand. Others whispered that something greater than logic had been born in that room. But none dared disturb them. As the night deepened, the alien woman sat beside the human's bed, her body still weak, yet her will stronger than ever. She would not leave him, not for a moment, because now their lives were no longer separate. They were bound by pain, by sacrifice, and by something growing quietly in her chest, something her people had never valued, something she once thought lost: love. The alien city shone with tall silver towers, lights glowing against the endless sky. But inside the council hall there was no warmth, only cold eyes watching from high seats. The alien woman stood weak, but unbroken, her body still healing, her voice trembling yet strong. Beside her bed in the hospital still lay the human, recovering slowly. His sacrifice whispered about in every corner of the city. The leaders of her people did not see his act as noble. They saw it as foolish, dangerous, even shameful. An elder's voice echoed in the chamber, sharp and heavy. "You live today not because of our wisdom, not because of our strength, but because of an alien who risked his body for you." The word alien was spat like poison, as though the human's kindness was a stain on their honor. She clenched her fists, her heart aching with anger. "He gave me life," she said, her voice low but fierce. The council shifted uncomfortably. Some sneered, others whispered. One elder replied coldly, "Life should not be traded so recklessly. His sacrifice breaks balance. It creates a debt that should never exist." Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice did not break. "Debt? You call his gift a debt? He gave without asking anything back. He gave because no one else would." Her words shook the chamber, echoing against the walls. But the faces above her remained hard, unmoved. They spoke again. "This human endangered himself. Endangered you and endangered the harmony between our worlds. What happens when others expect the same? Shall we cut our bodies open for strangers? Shall we throw away our future for pity?" Her chest burned, rage rising. "You speak of harmony, yet you let me die without lifting a hand. It was not your laws, not your people, not your mercy that saved me. It was him, one man with more courage than this entire council." Gasps filled. The room. The guard stiffened. The elders glared down with icy disapproval, yet she did not look away. She stood taller, though her body still trembled. Her heart beat strong, powered by the gift inside her, the piece of him that now lived within her. She remembered the long nights in the hospital, his pale face, his slow breath, the way he smiled, weakly just to say, "You are alive, that is enough." Her tears returned, but this time they carried fire. "You think his sacrifice is weakness? I tell you, it is the greatest strength I have ever seen, stronger than your laws, stronger than your pride, stronger than your cold hearts." The elders shifted again, some furious, some silent. One whispered, "She has been poisoned by human sentiment." Another said bitterly, "Her heart no longer belongs to her people." She raised her chin, her voice steady as stone. "My heart belongs to the truth, and the truth is this. He gave me life when all of you had already buried me. He gave me hope when you had turned away. If that is poison, then I will drink it gladly." Outside the chamber, whispers spread through the city. Some aliens were curious, others disgusted, many confused. How could a human sacrifice mean so much? Why did she, once broken and forgotten, now speak with such fire? Back in the hospital, the human stirred in his sleep, his body still weak, his dreams filled with fragments of her voice, her tears, her defiance. Though he did not wake fully, his lips moved faintly, as if answering her. "Do not give up," he whispered in his dream. The alien woman left the council, her steps slow but proud. She had defied them, spoken against the cold weight of tradition. But outside, doubt clung to her heart. She wondered if they would punish her, or worse, punish him. At night she sat again beside his bed. Her fingers wrapped around his hand, she whispered softly, "They do not understand, but I do. You gave me life, and they call it foolish, but I call it love." Her tears touched his skin, and though his eyes stayed closed, a faint smile brushed his lips. She told him what the council had said, how they had scorned him. Her voice cracked with pain. "They see you as a mistake, but I will never let them touch you. Never let them take this away." Her heart raced as she said the words she had hidden. "I would give up my people before I give up you." The stars outside the window glowed softly, distant yet eternal. She looked out at them and whispered, "If he dies, I will not forgive this world." Her promise hung in the air like steel, unbreakable, unyielding. In the quiet of the hospital, their hands remained linked. Her fire, his sacrifice, their bond growing stronger against every doubt. And while the council sat in their cold towers, she sat in the warmth of his presence. She knew one truth no law could erase: that in a universe filled with pride and fear, his act of love was the only thing that made her truly alive. The days turned into weeks. The alien woman's strength returned slowly, her body healing faster than the doctors expected. She could walk now, though her steps were weak, and her voice, once frail, grew steadier each day. But she did not use her strength for herself. Every moment she had, she spent at the human's side. The hospital lights glowed dimly at night. Machines hummed with their endless rhythm. The human lay still for long hours, but his breathing was stronger now. His heart beat steady, though fragile. Each time his chest rose, she felt relief flood her heart. Each time his breath faltered, she clutched his hand and whispered for him to stay. When he finally opened his eyes more often, it was like sunlight breaking through heavy clouds. His gaze was weak, his voice cracked, but his smile was real. "You are still here," he whispered one evening. She pressed his hand gently, tears filling her eyes. "I will always be here," she answered softly. They began to speak in broken fragments, simple words, quiet stories, small jokes that made them both smile despite the pain. She told him of her world's oceans that glowed under twin moons. He told her of Earth's forests, green and endless. They painted pictures for each other with words, and in those stories, they found something stronger than blood. Some doctors whispered as they passed, "This is dangerous, they are too close." Others shook their heads. "It is not natural, their bond will only bring trouble." But she ignored them, and he did not care. To them, The world outside the hospital walls no longer mattered. One night, as she sat by his side, she noticed the scars along his arm. Marks from battles fought, wounds that spoke of a life of sacrifice. She traced them lightly with her fingers, her heart aching. "You gave too much even before me," she whispered. He looked at her, tired, but calm. "Giving makes life worth something," he replied. Her chest tightened at his words. She lowered her head, her voice trembling. "Then let me give too. Let me give back to you." He smiled faintly, closing his eyes. "You already have from that night." Their bond deepened. She brought him food, simple meals prepared with her own hands, though clumsy and uneven. He ate them with quiet gratitude, smiling at her effort. She read to him from her people's old tales, and he listened with patience, his eyes on her voice more than the words. Sometimes they said nothing at all, just sat in silence, their hands linked, their hearts speaking where words could not. But the world outside was not silent. News of the human sacrifice spread through both societies. Some humans called him reckless, a soldier who had forgotten duty. Some aliens called her corrupted, a woman who had abandoned pride yet neither cared. They lived in their small world of two, inside the quiet hospital room. One evening, she sat with him by the window. The stars glittered above, endless and bright. He whispered, "Your stars look different from Earth's." She smiled softly. "But they are the same stars, just seen from far away." Their eyes met in the reflection of the glass, and something unspoken passed between them. Something gentle, something fierce. Her voice shook as she placed her hand over his chest, feeling the faint beat of his heart. "You gave me life with your body," she said, "but now my heart belongs to you." The words left her trembling, unsure if she had given too much, but his hand rose weakly, covering hers. "And my heart," he whispered, "is safe with you." Tears filled her eyes, spilling freely. For so long she had been alone, broken, unwanted. But here, in his fragile smile, she found what she thought impossible. Not just survival, but meaning. Still shadows lingered outside their fragile peace. The council watched with disapproval. Human commanders whispered warnings. Neither side wanted them together. Both feared what their bond might mean, but inside the room their hearts beat in rhythm. Their bond ignored borders, ignored species, ignored rules. It was something pure, something beyond logic, something that neither side could understand. The alien woman leaned closer, pressing her forehead against his. "I will protect you," she whispered. "Even if it costs me everything." His weak laughter brushed against her cheek. "You already have," he murmured, drifting into sleep. She sat by his side through the night, her hand in his, her eyes on the stars. She knew storms were coming. She knew their bond would be tested. But she no longer feared it, because now no law, no council, no army could take away what had been born between them. They were no longer strangers of two worlds. They were one heart, one bond, a love beyond species, and nothing would tear them apart. Whispers spread across the city like wildfire. Some aliens pointed at the human in disgust, calling him weak for giving away his body. Some humans scoffed, saying he had betrayed his duty for the sake of an alien. The bond between them became a story told in angered halls and shadowed streets. But inside the hospital room, the alien woman and the human clung to each other, their world small, their bond unshaken. Yet storms could not be kept outside forever. One morning, guards entered the room with cold eyes. They told her she should distance herself, that her presence slowed the human's recovery. Their words cut deep, but she answered firmly, her voice steel. "If you take me away, you will kill him faster than any wound." When the guards left, the human gave a weak laugh. "You always fight harder than me," he whispered. Her eyes burned with tears. "I fight because you gave me the reason," she said, holding his hand tightly. Days later, trouble came again. This time from his own people. A stern officer arrived, his uniform heavy with metals, his voice sharp as iron. You are a soldier of Earth, he told the human. You belong to duty, not to her. The human tried to rise, but his body was too weak. His voice trembled but steady. She is my duty now, he said. The officer's eyes narrowed. Then you are a traitor. The alien woman stepped forward, her body trembling with rage. No, he is a hero. He saved me when no one else dared. Her voice shook the room, but the officer only sneered. Your kind will never understand honor. That night, the human grew worse. The stress of conflict pressed on his weak body. He collapsed as he tried to stand, his breath shallow, his skin cold. She caught him before he hit the ground, her arms shaking under his weight. Her heart screamed in terror. No, stay with me. Do not leave me now. The doctors rushed in, their faces grave. He pushed too far. His body is not ready, they said. They laid him back on the bed, machines humming louder. She sat beside him, her hands trembling, her voice breaking. You gave me life. I cannot lose you. Not now, not ever. When he opened his eyes again, his voice was faint. You will not lose me, not while you still hold on. Her tears spilled freely, falling onto his chest. I will carry you if I must, she whispered. And I will carry you, he replied weakly, with every beat left in me. Outside forces grew louder. The council demanded he be removed. The humans wanted him returned. Two worlds pulling them apart, neither willing to accept their bond. But the woman stood tall before them all, her voice fierce. You will not take him, not while I breathe. They tried to shame her, calling her reckless. They tried to warn her, saying she would be cast out, but she did not bend. Her love was stronger than exile, stronger than shame, stronger than their cold laws. One night, shadows moved through the hospital halls, a group sent to remove the human quietly, to end what the council called a mistake. But she was waiting. Her body weak, yet her spirit burning, she stood in their path, her eyes blazing with defiance. You will not touch him, she said, her voice steady. They laughed at her frail frame, but she did not step aside. Her hands shook, but her heart was fire. The noise woke the human. He tried to rise, pain tearing through his body. He stumbled to the doorway, standing behind her. His voice was weak, but unyielding. If you want me, you must go through both of us. The intruders froze. For a moment, they saw not weakness, but something unbreakable. Two beings of different worlds, standing as one. They left in silence, unwilling to challenge a bond they could not understand. When the danger passed, the human collapsed again. She caught him, her tears falling onto his face. You fool, she whispered through sobs. You should be resting. He smiled faintly despite the pain. I told you we stand together. She pressed her forehead to his, her voice trembling. Even if the whole universe rejects us, I will not let go. His whisper brushed against her cheek. Then let the universe come. Their love had been tested by fire, by councils, by commanders, by shadows in the night, and though their bodies were weak, their hearts burned brighter than any law or army. Together, they proved something greater than survival. They proved that sacrifice and love could defy even the coldest of worlds, and as the stars glowed beyond the window, endless and eternal, they knew storms still waited. But they also knew nothing could tear them apart. Not fear, not duty, not even death. The skies above the alien city were dark with unrest. Two worlds stood on the edge of conflict. The humans demanded their soldier back. The aliens demanded their laws be obeyed. Between them stood only two fragile bodies, two hearts bound together by something neither side could control. The alien woman sat by the human's bed as the arguments outside grew louder. Her hand rested over his, her eyes filled with both fear and resolve. They will tear us apart, she whispered, her voice trembling. The human, still pale but stronger than before, turned his eyes toward her. Then we will not let them, he said, his tone soft but steady. Rumors spread of warships moving closer. Councils held secret meetings. Commanders sharpened their words like blades. But inside the hospital room, the two sat together in silence. The world outside demanded separation, but their bond grew only deeper. One night, alarms echoed across the city. The humans had sent ships into orbit. The aliens gathered their defenses. The hospital shook with tension, fear filling every corridor. The woman pressed her forehead against his, her tears falling. "They will destroy everything," she whispered. He closed his eyes, his voice faint. "Then let us show them something worth saving." The next day, the council called her to stand before them again. This time, the chamber was filled with both alien leaders and human officers. Cold eyes watched. Her sharp voices demanded answers. "Choose," the elders said. "Your people or him?" The officers echoed. "Return our soldier or face the consequences." Her body trembled, but her voice was unshaken. "I choose him," she said, her words clear as fire. Gasps filled the chamber. Anger erupted. "You betray your blood," the aliens shouted. "You corrupt our soldier," the humans accused. But she did not look away. Her heart thundered in her chest. "You call it betrayal, I call it truth. He gave me his body, his life. When all of you turned your backs, I will not deny him now. I will not abandon the one who saved me." The human, weak but determined, dragged himself into the chamber. His steps slow, his breath heavy, but his eyes fierce. He stood beside her, his hand clutching hers. "I chose her," he said, his voice raw but unbroken. "I gave her my strength because she deserved to live, because her life is worth more than laws and commands." The hall erupted in fury, but among the noise, whispers began to spread. Some eyes softened. Some voices faltered. They saw not weakness but a bond beyond fear, beyond politics, beyond species. Still the leaders would not yield. One elder slammed his hand against the table. "This cannot continue. One must be taken or both will be destroyed." The woman's heart froze. She looked at the human, tears blurring her sight. He squeezed her hand, his smile faint but steady. "Then let us decide," he whispered to her. Together they stepped forward, their voices rising as one. "If you tear us apart, you will prove your laws mean more than life itself. But if you let us stand, you will see there is another way. A way built not on fear but on sacrifice, on love." The chamber grew silent. Even the most hardened eyes wavered. No one had ever heard such words spoken with such fire. No one had ever seen two beings so different, yet so unbreakably bound. The leaders faltered, torn between pride and truth. But fate made the choice. As the chamber shook with the sound of distant alarms, a crisis erupted. An explosion rocked the city. A system failure threatened thousands. The council panicked. The officers shouted, but it was the human who stood tall despite his weakness. "Take me there," he said. "I can fix it." The woman tried to stop him, her tears frantic. "You cannot. Your body is too weak." But he only smiled. "I gave you my kidney now. Let me give my strength one last time." Together they rushed to the failing sector. Smoke and chaos filled the air, lives at risk from systems collapsing. The human worked with trembling hands, his body breaking under the strain. The woman held him, supported him, her voice guiding him through every breath. "Stay with me," she cried. "Do not let go." At the last moment, when all seemed lost, he forced the system to stabilize. Lights returned, alarms faded, the city was saved. But his body gave way. Collapsing in her arms, she screamed his name, clutching him, tears falling endlessly. "You cannot leave me. Not now. Not after everything." His eyes opened faintly, his hand brushing her cheek. "You are alive," he whispered. "That is enough." Her heart shattered. "No," she sobbed. "It is not enough. Because you are my heart." The council and officers arrived, their eyes wide with awe. They had seen his sacrifice, her devotion. For the first time, silence filled the chamber of power. For the first time they understood. They allowed her to keep him. They allowed their bond to stand, not out of mercy, but because they could not deny the truth anymore. That in their love lay something greater than fear, something worth saving. Days later, as he recovered once more, she sat by his side, her hand resting on his chest, her voice soft as the stars glowed beyond the window. "You gave me your kidney to live. I gave you my heart to love." He smiled weakly, his eyes filled with warmth, and together we gave them hope. The universe outside was still divided, still uncertain, but in that small room, two hearts beat as one, a bond forged in pain, sacrifice, and love, a bond that proved humanity was not just flesh, not just blood, but something greater, something eternal.